So first, I wanted to make a short statistic analysis of the awards and the grants we had until since 2014 until 2023. We started in 2014, and by now we have 11 awards. And most of the awards, as you see, were for applications related to Working Group 7 and Working Group 9 activities. And, sorry. And this year, the award went to Silvia from PSI from Switzerland, and her work is focused on luminescence detectors and their ability to support dosimetry for ultra-high dose rate beams. And she will give a presentation of her work after in a few minutes. For the grant, the same, we started in 2014, and we have 11 grants by now. Sorry, there is a typo there, of 4,000 euros each. The grants are awarded, given for doing scientific research in one of the voting members of EURADOS, and you see most of the grants were for applications related to Working Group 12 activities. And we have, by now, we have 3 ongoing grants. We have the grants from 2022 for the Ukraine, given for students, researchers from Ukraine, Mikola and Serhi, and the 2023 grant was awarded to Whitney. A bit about why we still have some ongoing grants from 2022. So Mikola is a researcher at the Laboratory of Whole Body Counters in Kiev. Because of the war, he did not receive permission to travel outside Ukraine. He intended to stay for his research at CMAT, to participate in the EURADOS IRSN intercalibration exercise on wound monitoring in 2023, but this intercomparison also already took place. And we hope that, I don't know, in time, he will get permission to travel abroad. And we checked with Maria Antonia Lopez and from the Internal Dosimetry for Emergency Task Group. And we also decided within the council that we will keep this grant after, until his travel is permitted, and we will find together a good topic for his research. Regarding Serhi, he's a medical physicist in Lisad Israeli Cancer Care Hospital in Kiev, Ukraine. It was the same issue for him because of the war. He did not receive permission to travel outside Ukraine, and he intended to stay for his research at SUK in January or February this year, and he kept contact with Timu, and he still tries to get his travel documents. He thinks he will have a chance this year, but he needs a letter of support from EURADOS, and we will prepare one and help him maybe if he can get a chance to get this and do his research at SUK somewhere within this year. His research is within Working Group 12 activities, subgroup 2, total dose in radiotherapy and characterization of cone-beam CT devices. Oh, sorry. And for this year, we have Whitney Kaller. She's a consultant medical physicist from and radiological protection expert for World Health Organization. And her work was focused on establishment of diagnostic reference levels for fluoroscopically guided interventions in radiology and cardiology in English-speaking Caribbean countries. I mean, she's from Suriname. And she is doing, actually, she's in her last week of her internship at CHUV in Switzerland. And she will give also, she will have a pre-recorded presentation for the General Assembly because she had issues in obtaining the visa to come to Oxford. So she prepared a pre-recorded presentation for us. For this year, we decided to have one grant in the amount of 500 euros and one award 4,000 euros. We will prepare the announcement within these 2 weeks. So in about 2 weeks' time, you all receive in the newsletter, and we will put it on LinkedIn and Facebook and all our social media channels, and even on the website. And I would like to encourage all your students, if you have PhD students or early career researchers that finished their PhD students no later than 7 years ago, encourage them to apply and to get either for the grant or for the award. I'm sorry, I think they are switched, right? The grant and the award, some amounts. And the deadline for the application is the 27th of September, because we need to finish everything, all the process, by the next annual meeting. So please consider this deadline, and as soon as we have the newsletter and everything on the social media channels, and contact the students and ask them to apply for this. Thank you. And now, thank you. And sorry for this mistake. So it's 4,000 euro the grant and 500 here. No. Jellica will not accept that. So no. Okay, so first, I would like to thank Silvia very much for applying for the award. She had a very, very interesting application and interesting work, and you will know more about this during her presentation. So, Silvia, we also prepared for you a certificate of award. Please, here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and it's a pleasure for me to be here talking about my PhD project entitled A Quest for Dose Rate Effects in Luminescence Detectors. What is the goal of my PhD project? My PhD project aims at systematically investigate possible dose rate effects in various luminescence materials. This includes experiments using ultra-high dose rate beams aiming at proving the suitability of luminescence detectors for ultra-high dose rate dosimetry, and this will be the focus of this very short presentation given the interest in dosimetry at ultra-high dose rate beams here at EURADOS. And the second part of my thesis was devoted to a theoretical study to deepen the knowledge of the luminescence mechanism. All the results that I will present here are already published, so I also put the references in case you're interested. The motivation of this project is, on the one hand, related to the new challenges of dosimetry and metrology for ultra-high dose rate beams, as we all know in relation to, for example, flash radiotherapy, but also laser-driven accelerators, as we heard multiple times this week. And on the other hand, it was also motivated by the contradictory results in the literature about the dose rate independence of luminescence detectors. Why contradictory results? Because on the one hand, we have theoretical results indicating the presence of dose rate dependency, whereas some limited studies indicate the opposite. And therefore, to study the dose rate effects in luminescence detectors, I carried out experiments in different facilities in Switzerland, at the PSI Center for Proton Therapy, using proton beams, using instead electrons at the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology, and also at the University Hospital of Zurich. The first step was the study of the response of lithium fluoride magnesium titanium in proton beams. And in this study, we used single spot proton beams up to an energy of 250 MeV. And here we studied the dose rate dependence of these small detectors here up to an average dose rate of 4,500 gray per second. In another study instead, we used multiple detectors. In this case, we used electron beams. We used 15 MeV electron beams, where we studied several materials relevant for medical and personal dosimetry, such as lithium fluoride magnesium titanium, lithium fluoride magnesium copper phosphorus, calcium fluoride thulium, and aluminum oxide. And with this study, we proved the dose rate independence of these materials up to an instantaneous dose rate of 324 kilogray per second. And one note about these results is an unexpected decreasing response of aluminum oxide, which was then not confirmed by the following study. So in the following study, we studied the same materials. In addition, we used also beryllium oxide OSLDs to prove the dose rate independence of this material in a different facilities with a similar instantaneous dose rate range. Here, we used a perfectly uniform beam. And with this study, we also proved that aluminum oxide OSLDs is the most precise material. And from this study, I would highly recommend using aluminum oxide as an OSLD material for ultra-high dose rate dosimetry. And to conclude why this work is relevant and why this work is relevant for EURADOS, because with this study, I proved that luminescence detectors are suitable to support ultra-high dose rate dosimetry. We know that ultra-high dose rate dosimetry is a hot topic also for EURADOS, and in particular, for example, luminescence detectors can be used for the establishment of a dosimetric consensus in ultra-high dose rate beams. And if we think about the activities, for example, of Working Group 9 with intercomparisons and male dosimetry audits, with this study we can extend the study to ultra-high dose rate beams. And also in relation to radiological characterization, because we proved that this kind of detectors can be used, for example, for the characterization of laser-driven accelerator facilities. And here I just reported a couple of examples where already luminescence detectors are used for ultra-high dose rate beam studies. And with that, I want to thank you all. Thank EURADOS for the prize and all the people that contributed to this project. Some of them are here in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next presentation is from Whitney. She received the grant for 2023. As I mentioned, she had issues with obtaining the visa for traveling to UK, and we will see her in a pre-recorded presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I will be presenting on the outcomes of my scientific visit, which was supported by the Young Scientist Grant from EURADOS. It will be a very short presentation, and I hope to be able to give a more detailed presentation on the activities during one of the Work Group 12 meetings. So a little bit about me. I'm a medical physicist from Suriname. I was trained as a medical physicist in Germany and the Netherlands. I initially started in radiation therapy and gradually included diagnostic and interventional radiology as well. And I've been working with the Ministry of Health in Suriname for quite a few years, and many of the projects have been focused on improving quality and safety of all diagnostic radiology facilities in the country. So the status of medical physics and radiation safety in Suriname, but also in English-speaking Caribbean countries, is in one word, very challenging. We have limited resources. There's no legislation, not on radiation safety, but also not on quality assurance, not on quality control. It's quite an unpopular area for people to study because of the limited offering of medical physics programs at the universities. You're dependent on many different factors, such as what the government is willing to invest in, but at the same time, you have to work independently because you're the only person, or there are just two of you in the whole country. It gives you some room to be creative and look for innovations and ways to do certain things with the limited resources you have. But at the end of the day, it still can be very stressful and challenging. When we look at the number of medical physicists in the Caribbean region, more specifically the English-speaking Caribbean region and Suriname, we see that of all the countries, around 13 to 15 countries that were included in a survey that was performed in 2022, only in 53% of the countries there were medical physicists present. And when we zoom into this group, we see that of this group of medical physicists, only 20% of them were involved in diagnostic radiology. So my motivation for applying for this grant and applying for this scientific visit was because, as many people know, there is an increasing number of fluoroscopy-guided interventions performed in radiology, but also in cardiology. And this leads or may lead to increased doses to staff and also to patients, and especially when equipment has not undergone any regular maintenance and quality control. Another thing that's also important is that there is a possibility to provide patient-specific and skin dose estimates. So I mentioned it before, there's no legislation. So there's no legislative requirement for physicists to be able to provide skin dose values or skin dose estimates from interventional procedures. So what we've seen, because there's no legislative requirement, that there's limited data on patient dosimetry in high-dose radiology procedures in the region, and at the same time, there have been limited publications on the establishment of DRLs for high-dose procedures in these Caribbean countries. The data that is available is usually from the Spanish-speaking countries, but not from the English-speaking countries. So this was basically the motivation for this research or for this scientific visit. So I had a very long list of objectives, and I just summarized a few of the main objectives here. One of the objectives was to review the DAX, or the dose management software that's installed at CHUV here in Lausanne, and then also to determine different approaches to establish DRLs, to evaluate the quality control protocol that was used at the hospital here in Lausanne, and also to evaluate the patient skin dose measurement protocol. And then the key findings were that I was able to develop or identify several solutions to get relevant information from the dose management system, but also from PACS in order to perform the statistical analysis. None of the facilities in the Caribbean have a dose management system, and many facilities only have PACS. So I was able to identify different solutions to get the information for facilities where they only have PACS, and just to find a way to analyze the data and come up with significant or relevant statistical information. And then I did some dose measurements, or I investigated ways to do some skin dose map measurements, and as a way to validate the skin dose map calculations performed by the DAX. So for this particular project, I just explored the feasibility and applicability of a 2D ionization chamber array, which is currently used in radiation therapy. The initial results are quite positive. And hopefully with the information and the solutions that I've identified during this visit, there's a potential for a regional impact, because with this information, being able to reach out to the different hospitals in the different countries, we can gather the relevant data and perform the initial data analysis to determine the DRLs. And then further research is definitely needed to assess the long-term effects of the skin dose acquired during the high-dose procedures. And also, it's maybe interesting to further explore the applicability of other dose measurement instruments for skin dose map measurements. And then for me, it was very good to develop or form this collaborative network with the team here at CHUV, the University Hospital in Geneva, and also in IRA. And I hope this network will further help me and aid me to develop and implement projects that are aimed at improving patient and staff safety during radiology procedures. And then for future directions, I hope to be able to gather and analyze data from several facilities in Suriname, but also in the region, and to develop one document for QC on interventional radiology systems, to further develop the established partnerships, to investigate possible tools and platforms to share data across the different facilities, and then also if there's a possibility to further investigate the protocols for skin dose. And finally, I would like to thank the staff at CHUV and IRA, also the staff at the University Hospital in Geneva, and of course the EURADOS Administration Office for making this scientific visit possible and also for making it a great success. Thank you.
Okay, so you saw a nice example of what can be done with the grant. You saw a very nice presentation of the award. So I hope this motivates everybody to look in the working groups, look in your institutes, look in whatever people you know to apply for it. Of course, it's the more people apply, the less chance you have to win. But yeah, but it's nice. I mean, this is we want to spend some EURADOS money for this kind of research, so that's nice to continue this. Okay, we go further, and we are now at the working group presentations, which, as I said, are shorter. And we will start this year with a numerical order. So I'm very happy to ask Nikki, as a new working group chair, to present the activities of working group 2.
Thank you. So yes, I only took over on Monday after being accepted by council, so it's been a bit of a baptism of fire. I had a catch-up plenary with all of the task leaders this morning, so hopefully this is a brief description of where they're at. So just as a very brief overview, Working Group 2 has a number of task groups that are ongoing, the intercomparisons and training courses and the learning network, which some of you might have gone to yesterday, and then some more recent ones, which is the survey and some guidance and recommendations. So I'm going to look at the first section first of all. So in terms of the intercomparisons, where we're at the moment, we're doing whole body photon and beta intercomparison every other year, and then interspersed with neutron every 5 years and extremity every other year in between. There was a bit of a delay in 2023, so there wasn't one, so we've got a bit of a catch-up this year. So the extremity has just been announced and has just closed. So I think you already said, Philip, that there was 77 systems in for the extremity for 2024, and then there'll be an announcement in the summer, probably around July, for the whole body for 2024, which will carry on and be reported on in 2025. The training courses related to the RP160, we've had 6 so far, which have been really successful. And so there's another one in June in Krakow. That is still open. So if anybody's got any young managers or trainees that would like to attend, it's a really good overview of all the different principles and about quality assurance in IMSs. And you can use the website to get people to apply. There are still spaces available. Learning Network, which was yesterday, gives people in IMSs an opportunity to talk about subjects in a relaxed fashion. So we take feedback each year and use that to then pick 3 new subjects the following year, which are voted on by the working group all of the working group is sent out as a poll. So we had 3 subjects this year, and again, we got really good feedback. 100% of people said that they would recommend it and they would come again to give them the opportunity to talk to people, like-minded people, in an open forum, face-to-face, gathering information and learning from each other. So onto the surveys. So Marianne, who was previously chair, started the survey working group task, which was in 2022. That data has all been collected, and the task group have been doing a sort of first analysis, so that's 2/3 done. Unfortunately, obviously, Marianne isn't continuing, and she's not going to continue as task leader for this either, but we have a new task leader who's taken that on this week, and so she's also managed to get some other people involved while she's been here, and so hopefully this will manage to push this through. Marianne is also still involved, so she's going to help and oversee the rest of the analysis with Violetta, who's taken over. We also have a task on neutron dosimetry about the quality or improving the quality of the CR39 PADC plastic that we use. There's quite a few different institutes involved, as you can see, from across Europe. This is led by Matteo, and they've already had a publication, 2 publications, I think, for this, an initial one, and we're just at a stage where we are doing some more assessments on some CR39 that has already been exposed. It's being sent round to each laboratory to do their own readout analysis on it, and then we'll compare the results for that. And hopefully another paper at the end on the full analysis and feedback to the suppliers so that hopefully we can get them to improve their techniques. The other part is for guidance and to also help disseminate information. So we have an information and technology task group which are hoping to provide some best practice for IMS so that we can give them ideas on how they should improve the security and data management, because most of us aren't IT specialists, so it helps with storing all the records that we have to as IMS. And also we're looking at another task which Liam is running for us on looking at training staff at all levels, from the head of the IMS down to lab technicians, and how we can look to improve that, because there's no real training across Europe at all, and in individual countries it's very haphazard. So we want to again put some recommendations together so that each country can go through maybe a process of what each level of staff needs to go through to reach an adequate level of training. So some reports that we have published. The first is the update for the intercomparison for the 2018 whole body. And then these are the other ones which I mentioned, one which is Matteo's CR39 task, and a couple of others that we've had through the SSD. There are also some that are in progress and should be hopefully published later this year. So, as usual, everything is on the website, and our activities will be announced through the social media and the newsletter. And come and join us if you'd like to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Next, working group 3. So, Arturo.
Thank you. So hello, and let's go to working group 3, to environmental dosimetry. And just to remind you that we are divided in 3 subgroups, S1, S2, and S3. S1 is regarding the spectrometry system for environmental dosimetry, which is chaired by Ulrich Stolker from BFS. Then subgroup 2 is passive environmental dosimetry, Christian Naber from KIT. And subgroup 3 is regarding radon, and it's an Ed Röntger that it was here representing the EM and topic. So there were different meetings, and I have to say that in each subgroup, it was around more than 30 people in each meeting here in Oxford. So it's increasing every year the number of people attending to the subgroups, which is quite good. So let's go to make a review of the different tasks of the different of the three subgroups very briefly and fast because I have only 5 minutes. But okay, this is the task one is regarding this spectrometry exercise of spectrometry and also dosimetry, classical dosimeter ones, who explained before Philippe. And we try also to including citizens detector, yes? And okay, maximum number of devices would be 20 and 10 for spectrodosimeters, yes, because of technical reasons. And so now you can go to the webpage, which has, thank you very much to Kirsten and Bab for the work that has done to put all the things there in the web. The announcement is also there, the registration, which is open up to 31st of May, and then we will decide the number of participants there. Okay, you can see here some pictures that we will irradiate it into the lake, into the underground laboratory, and in the plume, so there will be different irradiation there in the comparison. It's all in the announcement. So in task 2, there is the data harmonization and tools for spectrum data analysis. So here the idea is that during the last year we have analyzed the classical peak method for the spectra, but also new techniques like this artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the idea is to try to compile all these methods and to produce some kind of document with including this description of the method, codes, tutorials, and examples. So this could be a very huge task, and for that we will try to prepare a proposal, some kind of research, in this EMN that Annette explained before, in the call of 25 about regulations. This is the idea for this task. So then we have another task in this group one, which is the use of unmanned aerial system or vehicles. And here, okay, we have some experience, we did measurements, and so the idea now, it contact the ISO group, TC85, and the idea is to make a meeting. So they invited EURADOS to go there, so I will be there. The idea is it's necessary to develop some standards for these radiological measurements using drones. This is the question. And so we will see in this meeting that will be probably in June what is going the outcome from that. Also, we work in citizens detectors, not too much during the last year, but we are following the projects, national projects that we know that are ongoing from the Czech Republic and also in Spain. The last task for Subgroup 1 is this training. It was a course organized in November regarding these improved methods. This is full spectrum analysis, single and different, machine learning also, and it's prepared a second course regarding artificial intelligence. So, okay, let's move to the passive environmental dosimetry. So task 1 is regarding question-oriented dissemination, and it was a new questionnaire, and it will be distributed in the next weeks. The second task is regarding intercomparison, and as you have seen, this was finished the IC 2023 CALIP. It was 24 participants with 2.5 quality per participant. A webinar will be prepared, so we are the winners in the webinars, so we also try to put some of them, but maybe for 2025. So it's in preparation of a report, and after a publication, a peer review publication is also planned in this way. So intercomparison is also planning a new one here. So it's called EC 2024 emergency. And the idea is to use area and personal dosimeters to measure the environmental in case of an emergency. So it was a questionnaire to see what they like to do this, and this is the answer a summary of the answers you can get here. So task 3 of the subgroup is the composed technical recommendation guidelines for environmental monitoring with passive regarding dosimeters. And this is a standard for, it's coming the idea from a German standard, this DIN standard for environmental monitoring with solid state dosimeters. And we will try to focus on the same, but more on recommendation for all European countries. So the chapters are defined, and the idea is to fill now with the content. So now we move to radon, and the first task is the collaboration with European funded projects. There were a lot of Valeria explaining in his presentation, her presentation, sorry. And okay, here is Metro Radon, Trail Radon, there are a lot, and there is 2 news, which is Radonet and Nucleum, yes? Okay, so we have very involved in a lot, which coming from ideas from EURADOS, and a lot of members of EURADOS participate in these projects. So the task 2 is regarding radon, thoron, and radon progeny measurements. So we see during these days that there is no traceability to measure unattached radon progeny, which is very important to calculate the doses. So it's strange, but it's like that, yes? So we need also to harmonize guidelines to how to measure and what to measure there in mines, spas, tunnels, galleries, and this kind of workplaces that are complicated to make measurements properly. So the third task is to provide support in the uses of radon progeny dose conversion coefficients or factor published by ICRP 137. So in this, we like this collaboration in metrology and dosimetry in order to provide some kind of guidelines. Then we did a dose calculation exercise that we provide some data to the different authorities to calculate the doses, and we see what we expected, which the results are really, really dispersed. So we will continue with these exercises and to improve all this kind of metrology and dosimetry, and mainly we like to produce some guidelines for the different authorities. And a webinar of this is prepared for 24, 25, we don't know exactly. And that's from my side. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if somebody wants to ask questions, go ahead, and we have time for it. If not, we continue working group 6. So Hans, your turn.
Yeah. Okay, just a second. Okay, so hello, I'm Hans Rabus from PTB, and I'm reporting on the activities of Working Group 6, Computational Dosimetry. I will try to be rather short. Okay, if I find the right key. Okay. Doesn't like me. Just the page down should be. This one's here. Ah, okay. All right. So, as I said, I'm the chair. Secretary is Jose Maria Gomez-Ros from CIAMAT. We have 38 full members, 32 corresponding members, and 82 observers, which are basically people who want to know what's going on but are not contributing to the activities. We had 61 registrants for this annual meeting, but I would say the peak attendance was about 25, perhaps. So the working group is basically having 2 main activities. One is related to Monte Carlo radiation transport simulations, and one is on unfolding of spectra, mostly neutron spectra. We consider ourselves as the working group that is responsible for quality assurance in computational dosimetry. And we're organizing training courses, which are usually practice-oriented, except the one that we do on Friday, because it's only half a day, and therefore it's only an overview of computational methods, on Monte Carlo methods in particular. We organize intercomparison exercises, and which are usually not making money for EURADOS, unfortunately. And we also do some research and development activities to advance computational dosimetry. We have 9 task groups, and those who are labeled in green are actually joint task groups with other working groups. The first one on neutron spectra unfolding has actually been redefined this morning. It will be a joint task with working group 11 and led by Eike Hohmann of working group 11, yes. Task 2 is on micro and nano dosimetry. Task 3 is individual monitoring, which is closely working together with working group 2 and working group 10. We have a new task on in vivo dosimetry, which is basically mirroring a new activity in working group 7 in that area. We have a task group on computational phantoms, which is organizing this training course that has been mentioned earlier today, which will take place at the end of September, early October this year in Madrid. Then we have the nuclear data and cross-sections models. This is actually a common topic because it affects a lot of performance of detectors. It affects the accuracy of simulations. And this is done together with working group 9 and working group 11. Then we have an input strategy work task group, which also provides input to the SRA. And then 2 tasks that are related to medical activities, one on Monte Carlo in nuclear medicine, which is actually a joint task with the pilot working group, with working group 7 and working group 12. And Monte Carlo in medical applications, which is more conceptually more for external radiotherapy. And it's again a joint task with working group 12 and working group 9. Ongoing activities are an uncertainty exercise where we look into how much the different codes will solving the same problem will give different results, and how much that depends on the cross-sections that are used there. There's a task to augment GN4 DNA to include gas cross-sections so that it also can model detectors. Then we are basically preparing a paper on skin dosimetry, particularly for hot particles. We prepared the training course, I mentioned that already. We try to fill the data gaps for high energy neutrons and do some dosimetry for emerging radionuclides. That's also an activity here. And addressing some problems with radiotherapy, particularly particle radiotherapy, in collaboration with working group 9. And a joint task on unfolding problems is, as I mentioned already, in development, and we have decided this morning how we go forward in that direction, which is essentially to identify a reference experiment and to study how much the parameters of the measurements are actually influencing what you will get as an outcome of the unfolding. And I think that's it. I don't believe in photographs. Many of the working group people don't believe as well. So we are more virtual people, and therefore I thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Hans. Next one, working group 7. So this is chaired by David Brojo, but he could not make it to this meeting. So this will be presented by Miguel Saizu. And it's ready.
Okay, thank you very much, Philip, for introduction. So, I'm here on behalf of David Brojo. That is our chairman, the chairman of the Working Group 7. So, the EURADOS Working Group 7, internal dosimetry, acts as a network of scientists, services, regulators, and laboratories from 60 institutes from 24 countries in Europe Asia and the Americas, collaborating for the coordination of research and the dissemination of knowledge for the assessment of doses due to intakes of radionuclides. I don't want to insist on the structure, about the structure of the Working Group 7, with his topical area, its topical areas and tasks, because our EURADOS, the website, contains a lot of information about all this. But I want to insist and to show to you some highlights of the Working Group 7. First of all, WHO EURADOS report on wound monitoring is under preparation and will be published by WHO. This is the result of the fruitful collaboration between EURADOS Working Group 7, Task Group Internal Dosimetry for Emergency, and WHO REMPAN, Radiation Emergency Medical Preparedness and Assistance Network, in the frame of the wound project, monitoring, dosimetry and clinical management in case of internal contamination through wounds, led by Dr. Maria Antonia Lopez from CIEMAT. This report covers monitoring, dosimetry, clinical management, and includes some gap analysis regarding the wound dose coefficients, updating, and the research on chelation mechanism. Practically, this report is a recognition of EURADOS work. Another highlight is about the CADORMET software, that is a free Excel-based tool enabling internal dose calculation from the results of bioassay measurement. And now we have the CADORMET, the third version. It is available in several languages, and in short time will be also available on EURADOS website. On the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the Chernobyl accident, Dr. Oliver Meisenberg proposed a new project, a comprehensive statistical evaluation of cesium-137 whole body data resulted from cesium-123 measurement carried out at internal contamination services all over Europe, and all this being to be compared with the whole body monitoring results of 56 German hunters, results that revealed cesium-137. And all these results were published in Science of the Total Environment Journal. This proposal takes advantage of the EURADOS network to extend this study in the whole Europe. And the last highlight. Also, we can speak about ongoing new task collaboration between Working Group 7 and Working Group 6, experimental and numerical intercomparison of whole body monitoring for children, proposed by Dr. Begonia Perez, also from CIEMAT. The objective is to improve the capacity for response and radiological protection and to ensure adequate care for the most vulnerable population in the event of a radiological and nuclear emergency. This project will contain two parts. One experimental, to provide in vivo laboratories with adequate calibration factors, being used new designed brick phantoms for newborn 1, 5, 10 and 15 years old and adult, and will be finished with an intercomparison between these laboratories. And the second part is a computational one, being created computational phantoms for the same ages. And also, these projects will create the opportunities for detectors calibration for many more radionuclides and efficiency studies, and brick phantoms validation by comparison with the computational ones. I have only last-minute announcement regarding a training course that is not included in my presentation. is about a joint EURADOS ICRP training course on the theory and practical application of codes for the determination of dose after internal contamination that is organized in cooperation with the Institute for Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety from France, from Fontenay-aux-Roses. And this will be between 14 and 18 October this year at Fontenay-aux-Roses. And if someone is interested, please contact David Brojo, that is the chair of the Working Group 7. So, thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, Miguela. Then now we go to Working Group 9, for 5 minutes. Please, Liliana.
So hello again, this time on behalf of EURADOS Working Group 9. So Working Group 9 is radiation dosimetry in radiotherapy. We have 4 subgroups or task group. The first one is dedicated to hadron radiotherapy, and as a recent activity, we have ongoing task on out-of-field dosimetry for a very, very long time, and right now we are moving a little bit towards LET, experimental validation, but also during this meeting we discussed the possibility of measurements in BNCT therapy. We have a task group dedicated to Monte Carlo simulations and has already explained a lot of activities of this group. This group is supporting our experiments, and it's also working towards benchmarking of Monte Carlo codes for neutron calculations. We have a task group dedicated to fatal doses of radiotherapy. So it's a very particular case where we have a pregnant patient who needs to undergo radiotherapy. And in this case, we are focusing not only on hadron radiotherapy, but also on photon radiotherapy. And we have a task group for small field dosimetry, so gamma knife and cyber knife. And when we think about EURADOS strategic research agenda, so we are working towards optimization of out-of-field dosimetry for both photon and particle radiotherapy, and in general towards improvement of dosimetry in radiotherapy. And during the next few minutes, I would like to present you our work which was done during 2023. So we had a very nice experiment in HIT in Germany, where we measured out-of-field doses for different ions. That was proton, carbon ions, helium, and oxygen. And I would like to say thank you to Jose and his colleagues. Jose is over there and the group is over there, because during a few days we really managed to measure a lot. We perform room mapping together with Working Group 11. We perform spectrometry, and we perform also in-phantom measurements, everything during night shifts. So that was really hard work. And we have some initial results. So this is the slide from Stefan Schmidt from DKFZ, and here we have results for fluorescent nuclear track detectors for helium, carbon ions, oxygen, and protons. And can you guess which picture is from what? It's not for Working Group 9, because we already had it. Okay, so there's no prize, so I will reveal. So we have protons with the fewer number of tracks, and then towards the higher densities we get more and more tracks. So that was one of our activities. The second activity is this fetal dosimetry in radiotherapy. A group from Croatia developed a TENA phantom, that's a pregnant lady phantom, which is based on MRI of real pregnant patient. That was a computational phantom, but right now they developed also a phantom which is a connection between 3D printing and tissue equivalent materials. So you can see a 3D printing molds and which are filled with tissue equivalent materials for lungs, bone, and soft tissue. And this phantom was validated for photon radiotherapy. And also last year we performed measurements in proton radiotherapy, so that's ongoing validation for proton radiotherapy. And I would like to say thank you to colleagues from CCB IFJ PAN in Krakow for their contribution to this work. One of our big activities is experimental validation of LET calculation for proton radiotherapy. And if I would ask you how many of you know a person who is fighting with cancer, a family member, a friend, a colleague, probably all of us would have to raise a hand. And that's why it's so important to improve the treatment, cancer treatment. And LET optimization may be a small improvement in proton radiotherapy, so we believe it's worth investigating. In 2022, we performed experiment with many different detectors in DCPT. In Denmark, we continue it after the first experiment where we gather all participants. We have several other detectors which we irradiated. And there are also ongoing Monte Carlo simulations when we are trying to investigate the influence of high LET secondaries on the total dose of the patient. But the paper, which is currently under review, is saying that the passive detectors have a potential to estimate LET in proton radiotherapy. So we hope that in future we can use those detectors not only in phantom, in a very simple geometry, but really to move towards measurements in clinical conditions. EURADOS knows how important are audits, and they are also important in radiotherapy, and one of our groups is working on the audit for a small field dosimetry. We hope that it will be possible in near future. Right now this is together between two centers in Zagreb and in Czech Republic in Prague, but we hope that in future we will get more participants. And we already heard a presentation of a Young Scientist Award. Congrats again. Working Group 9 is really good in Young Scientist Conference support. So if you would like to apply for support, let me know. I will be happy to write a letter of support. Congrats again to all winners. We have few new members, full members of our group, so I hope they will join our activities, and now we will be much faster. But if somebody would like to contribute both measurements and Monte Carlo simulations, just let me know and send an email. So thank you for your attention, and I would like to thank all working group members for their hard work.
Thank you, Liliana. Working Group 10 now for the second performance by Liz. It's coming. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Philippe. Hello again. So I took my 5 minutes very seriously. I have 5 slides, very little information this time, just a very quick overview. So I think I said earlier, I have the pleasure of being the Working Group 10 chair. Our interests are retrospective dosimetry. This is taken from the website. The idea is that we are a network of contacts and collaborators all across Europe and indeed worldwide now. We have collaborators from the US, from Korea, lots of people from all over the place, so that's great. Retrospective dosimetry is really growing. And we are focused on a number of different things, so we look particularly at how to use our techniques separately and together in the context of a large-scale radiation emergency. How can we get the best information out of them? We are very concerned with making sure that members of the wider community, so particularly those with responsibility for running of emergency response, know that we are available to help in the case when an emergency response is needed. And we not only develop new methods, we test them, we validate them, we get them operationalized so that we're ready to use them. So lots of very interesting work. Then the tasks are sort of relatively well defined here. So we are interested in, as many other working groups, interlaboratory comparisons. This is a very important part of the development and validation of the techniques. So we have biological and physical retrospective dosimetry methods, some very well established over about 60 years now, and some very new. So all the time our members are coming up with new ideas for how to do retrospective dosimetry. Then we also have a task in common with Working Group 6, which Hans has already mentioned, on sort of now more focused on computational support for physical dosimetry, but also how we can use that computational element with in common with the data that we get from the retrospective dosimetry assays. We're also working closely with Working Group 7 on, as already mentioned, on internal biological dosimetry, chiefly, and then we are very interested in development of a common approach to uncertainty estimation. So how can we harmonise what we do on the uncertainty side as well? And then this year, very excited, so that last year I put up on the slide that we were hoping to establish a new task on very high dose rate irradiations. This is something emerging within many of the working groups within the field. We had a really nice discussion session with contributions from the different working groups that might be interested in this topic, short presentations and brief descriptions of the work already ongoing with the partners, and we've decided to set up a new task. So the working group chairs and other interested people are still thinking about exactly the shape of this, but I think we are agreed we can do something worthwhile within EURADOS on extremely high dose rate radiations. So one slide on the progress and activities in sort of that we've discussed at AM 2024. So we've published 2 papers, we are about to publish, we have submitted 2 papers on Monte Carlo simulations in support of the last intercomparison that we did, and there will be 2 other papers on the mobile phone dosimetry and on the new methods that we're using within the group. Then we discussed quite a lot about making sure that we learn from the consecutive interlaboratory comparisons. It sounds obvious, but sometimes we have lots of new ideas, but we need to really focus these on how to move forward, how to advance knowledge within the field. And the next intercomparison, it's going to be, the sort of testing elements are going to be this year, but probably the full intercomparison will be next year. That's going to be focused on criticality, so in a situation where we have gamma and neutron exposures can be very challenging from the dosimetry perspective. I also already mentioned the work on internal biodosimetry. We had a really nice session a couple of days ago with Working Group 7 and also with Weibo and colleagues in the pilot working group. I think there's a lot of potential crossover there. So that's reinvigorated us to try and do some really useful things on internal biodosimetry. Then uncertainties, I already mentioned as well. We're still working on detection limit, decision threshold. We also had a really nice invited presentation on optimal experimental design, which is something we've never considered within the field of biodosimetry, so something a bit new for us, and now we look to see how that can be used. And then I already said this nice new task on high dose rate. I also just want to mention, it's already been mentioned, but the early career researchers event went very well indeed. It's very well received, so thank you to Lily and colleagues for organising that, and we've got some great feedback. I know Lily's reporting to the council tomorrow, so we're expecting some good feedback and new ideas again for the next annual meeting. So I haven't named everybody. You know, we have a really great working group, definitely the best working group, right? And you know, really good group. Sometimes we have fewer people coming, and sometimes we have more people. Actually, there were 35 in the room on one of the sessions. So it's really great. If you're interested, if you want to find out more following this very brief overview, then please do get in touch. And looking forward to seeing you for the dinner very soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liz. We go to working group 11. Will be presented by Marco Carzana. Voilà.
Thanks, Philip. Good afternoon, everyone. So, the working group 11. We started for the first time in this annual meeting to test the new organization of this working group, saying that I remain chair with Veronica Olsovkova as vice chair, but we have split the working group into subgroups. The working group 11.1 is for natural high energy radiation dosimetry, which is led by Marcin Latocha, so that is more oriented to dosimetry on board aircraft. while Veronica is vice chairing the part for high energy dosimetry around accelerators, so let's say ground-based dosimetry. We had our midterm meeting in Frascati only in the end of January 2024. So for a practical reason, we had to delay the midterm meeting. So we had actually few time in between the two meetings. We have, let's say, 8 old tasks which are running, plus 2 new tasks, and I will focus on this new activity, which I guess is quite important. So I go very briefly through the 8, let's say, old tasks. We have task 1, led by Martin Latoccia. That is a comparison of Monte Carlo code used for dose assessing during the commercial flights. And the new code actually includes the conversion coefficient of the ISLP 103. So in this case, the work is going on and probably will be finalized pretty soon. Task 2 is the task focused for pulse radiation fields that is related to the high dose rate radiation. We had actually 3 experiments running in which we are in the phase of the data analysis. So we expect a publication at least of 2, hopefully all the 3, by the end of this year. Task 3, which is in gray, because it's almost completed, it's only waiting for the publication of the result. Task 4, well, I can postpone because there is something really new about this task that probably will lead to one of the new tasks that I mentioned. We have the task 7 for high reference field. No particular news on that, but anyway, it is going. The same is also for task 8 and 10. And for the task 11, that was started when the working group organized the course on unfolding. Well, now it will be a bit restructured and in collaboration with working group 6 and 9. So as Hans mentioned before, this will be led by Eike from the part of the working group 11 and Jose Maria for the part of the working group 6. And then we have the task 12, which is again a common task with working group 9 and 11, which is led by Michael Petit. Well, this is the main news in this task is that we are going to propose to the JF meeting, which are, from our point of view, the gaps in cross-section measurements. So we have presentation highlighted that there are not a very good knowledge of the cross-section for protons on carbon or for proton on oxygen in the energy range in between 20 and 200 MeV, which is a quite interesting range for us. So the idea is to propose to the community of people making this kind of measurement to fill this gap. The new 2 tasks are the task 5, which is about laser-generated radiation field. And another task, I say NA because we have not yet assigned a number to this task, that is measurement on board aircraft. And then we have also a task proposal, it was proposed by Andrei Bloch, about an epidemiological study for flying personnel, including some genome biomonitoring. Not started because we are considering now, Andrei is considering now to apply for some funding, because it's not, you cannot do that without any financial support. But let's have a better detail on these two tasks. The main motivation and the main aim for the laser generated radiation field is that around the world there are really a lot of laser systems that are in principle capable of generating ionizing radiation. And in most cases, people is not aware of this risk. We have examples where in the control room you can get those up to several millisievert, but this kind of machine, this kind of laser, are not included in the legislation of several countries. So people is completely not aware of this risk. So the idea is to propose some kind of a survey just to identify which are these facilities. In addition, it's not maybe that who is running this facility is aware of the risk, but can ask to a radiation protection expert, which is actually not expert in the specific problem of pulse field. And the result is that the radiation protection is not adequate. So the task will start to collect the state-of-the-art of knowledge and try to write down some radiation protection guideline. That could be also very simple. That means I may not measure a pulse field with a counter, because it is not possible. The second new task, it is quite interesting. We had a talk from the colleague Diane Kim, hoping to pronounce correctly the name, about the Korea Flight Measurement Project. So we realized that these Korean colleagues are doing really well measurement on board aircraft similar to the one we are doing in the Working Group 11. So the idea is to start this task to foster the collaboration in between Europe and Korea, just sharing instrument and sharing experience. They are also developing their own code for those assessments, and also that will be for sure interesting for an intercomparison. Something about the training course. We started in 2022 with the training course on unfolding, and we want actually to continue to have this training course. And we discussed about the possibility of a course on neutron dosimetry. So just covering some basic topic, that is interaction of neutron with matter, neutron sources, problem of the gamma rejection, maybe problem also of the pulsed neutron field, and so on. So now we have to start a survey just to get an idea of the acceptability of this course. And another course that we want to propose in collaboration with Working Group 6 and 9, that was a decision taken today, to propose a refresh course on neutron spectral unfolding, let's say adjacent to the next annual meeting. And that will be a first milestone of the task 11 that I mentioned before, that will be actually shifted in collaboration with VG6 and 9. And also in this case, a survey for evaluate the interest is needed. Maybe also contacting the people who has participated to the previous unfolding course. Okay, another thing that I forgot to put in the slide, but is quite important, is that we have discussed with colleagues who are part or who used to be part of the Working Group 11, namely Andy Baffler from South Africa, Vincent Gressier, who used to be participant in the Working Group 11, and Andreas Zimbal, about the possibility of organizing a symposium on the high-energy neutron facilities. This symposium will be actually organized by the IAEA in collaboration with the Consultative Committee of Ionizing Radiation, CCRI. And the Working Group 11 will be part of the scientific committee and is regarded by the IAEA as a stakeholder. The symposium will be in next year, in the second week of July next year. The date is not yet defined, but the week is. Okay, so I conclude with this nice picture of the working group. This is only the, let's say, boomers of the working group, because yesterday the young guys was in their own meeting. And we plan the next meeting in fall this year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Marco. Then we go to Working Group 12. Paolo?
Thank you, Philip. So, good afternoon. I'm presenting the activities that we are doing in Working Group 12. The working group is divided in two subgroups, one devoted to staff dosimetry and is led by Isabelle Clarin, and has 4 activities now currently ongoing now. And the subgroup 2, that is led by Germain Debin, is devoted to patient dosimetry and has 4 activities ongoing. Then there is also a joint group already cited by Hans just minutes ago, and working on nuclear medicine. So I show you just some of the updated data that we have on different tasks that are active. Task 2 is devoted to those constraints. Those constraints were introduced some years ago, and so it was decided to investigate which is the situation on those constraints in different countries. So a survey was done, and basing on the available literature data, a study was particularly focused on occupational exposure in interventional radiology and cardiology. So we are preparing some guidelines, and in particular, we are now estimating some dose constraint algorithm for HP3 and HP10 in particular. Task 3 about the staff dosimetry is related to the fact that we are producing in WG12 a lot of information through reports and publishing papers and so on, and we are trying to find a way to make this more effective for the stakeholders, we can say. So it was decided to prepare some practical worksheet, synthetic worksheet, with the main information about different problems like the patient shielding or the doses, in which way you have to determine the doses to the operator and so on, and also operator shielding and so on. This is a joint task between the two subgroups, and now it was finalized the first draft, and we are trying to find a designer in order to make something also attractive for the people, and the first draft will be sent to the council, because it will be an official, you can say, a production of the EURADOS. Task 4 is about artificial intelligence, because you know now it's spreading quite a lot in different fields, and so we decided also to study in which way we can use artificial intelligence for the medical dosing, in particular for interventional cardiologists and radiologists. This is a particular field for us because it is the field in which the operator is really near the source and can receive higher doses as a exposed worker in radiation field. So it was decided, there was a sort of brainstorming at the beginning, because this group was just started, in order to decide which is the way we have to follow. So just to produce a lot of simulation and then define which are parameters, or going on the opposite. So we decided to first of all, define which are the parameters we have to follow, and then to perform the simulation. But in particular, what is very important, we decided to use also previous simulations already done in the podium that were not published, and that will be used as a first step to train the artificial intelligence algorithm, in order to see in which way we can determine the dose to the operator, starting from the scattering field around the patient. Task 8 is devoted to the nuclear medicine and the doses to the operator, preparing and administrating radionuclides or radiopharmaceuticals. And in particular, now they are ongoing. There are many tasks that are already concluded and published. Now the two tasks that are ongoing is related to the lutetium-177. And there was a comparison between the performance of the dosimeter with this radioisotope you can read here. And there is also another subtask, we can say, that is focused on the study of the hand and the feet monitor, in order to compare the result and in which way they can be useful, and it can be, calibrated and used in case also of contamination. This is the joint task, both in the field of nuclear medicine, particularly for the new radiopharmaceutical. They are going to be used more and more. Lutetium-177 is already spread in the nuclear application, but some new radionuclides, like copper-67, scandium-47, and terbium-161 are supposed to be introduced in the near future. So the idea is to determine the exposure to the operator, because these are beta emitters, but they have also some gamma emission in the spectrum, and this can be a source of exposure for the operator that is near the patient during the administration, and pass them some minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on the procedure, when the radiopharmaceutical is injected in the patient. We move to the patient now, and dual energy CT became more common equipment in different medical departments. So the idea is to verify which is the dosimetry of this kind of source. So there was a review was done in this task group in order to determine which is in literature, and we see that there are very few information on the dosimetry performed. So it was decided to contact directly the CT manufacturers in order to get data to understand better in which way the dosimetry of this kind of equipment is done. The task 2 of patient dosimetry is related to the imaging part of the dose in radiotherapy, because for the staging of the therapy during the radiotherapy and after the radiotherapy, the patient is okay. There are done many imaging of the patient after in order to check if the practice was done correctly. And so it was decided to determine the doses derived from this kind of imaging procedure in order to get an integral dose. And so a set of measurement was planned, also validation with Monte Carlo simulation was planned, and at the end will be a comparison between the evaluated doses to see if there is a convergence. The task force is about the dosimetry in pregnancy, and it is part of the work that will be done in the Sonora Pianoforte project that was cited just some minutes ago. And, but we decided to maintain anyway, beside the Sonora, a task group working on this field because it's particularly important, the dose of the fetal dose for the pregnancy, for the exposure of the pregnant patient. And so we decided during this meeting to use, to set up some measurement and also a validation with Monte Carlo. And the last one is the task 5, that is organ dose interventional radiology. In the field of interventional radiology, we decided also to treat the case of the patient in order to have a benchmark of the Monte Carlo codes applied to the dose to the patient, but also to see the variability and the parameter that affects the variability of the doses calculated by the conventional software. Indeed, a series of measurement was planned, and we are trying to make a convergence between among the measurement and among the simulation, because there are some problems that we will need to solve, but anyway, we defined a way trying to find the convergence. During this meeting, we had a very nice discussion. There were 45, more or less, participants during the plenary session, and we already have some new idea for new tasks. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then the final presentation will be from the pilot group. So, Weibo.
Okay, thank you very much, Philip. I'm Weibo Li from Munich, BFS. Yeah, pilot group is set up about 2 years ago. The reason is set up this pilot group is just because of the publication of the EURADOS Strategic Research Agenda 2020. And in the report, in the strategy report, nuclear medicine dosimetry is identified as a separate field, and to set up a group to make the activities in nuclear medicine in EURADOS group visible across Europe and even in the world. Yes. I'm the person now, chairperson in this group, and Lara Students is from SCK, is the secretary, and we are about less people, about 10 full members, 20 associate members as these assigned applications. And we have defined 5 tasks in the beginning, but now we have 2 small tasks. The first is EAAM, EURADOS external dose rate calculation from the patient. And the second is AI application in radiopharmaceutical kinetic models and also dosimetry. The third one is iodine. We want to set up an iodine hypothyroidism compartment model. And the fourth one is to use the different software to compare the internal dose in the practically, in clinically. But now it's suspended because of the personal reason of the leader. Yes. And we have another 3D dosimetry. We finished the questionnaire for lutetium 177 PMSA therapy, already finished in a Google form, and we'll ask EURADOS how to release it. In the meantime, we have also small-scale dosimetry. We want to set up using the autoradiography images to be read in the Monte Carlo simulation. The last is to set up an uncertainty and analysis group to perform some biokinetic model uncertainty and even dosimetry uncertainty. Yes, this is already mentioned. The first task is more or less finished, but now we are just want to go for lutetium PMSA for the same perform, but is still on discussion. Yeah, this is the only results I can present you. The other results is not results, but we have finished the machine learning exercises set up, and will be released internally in a pilot group to several 3 to 4 members to do the exercises, to learn the machine learning, really to predict the organ dose prediction for the patient. I already mentioned that we want to set up one model for the hypothyroidism therapy, but we have already one ICRP model used for diagnostic. Another one is developed by Marsden Rail Hospital, Young Taproga, and we are using this model for the task 1. But we want to also, based on these 2 models and also the measured data available, to see if we can set up one model for hyperthyroidism therapy. But now, until now, is without any results, not yet. And the task 5 is just to the questionnaire, because we have already the questionnaire finished already about 1 year ago. But the things that we in the end, we finalized just only for the lutetium, 177 PMSA. Otherwise, if you do for alpha, you have some, a conflict with other project, with other proposal. Therefore, we concentrate only this one. Yes. It's already finished in the Google form and will be released. I will consult EURADOS office and other group 11, I think, 12. The people who have done the questionnaire, how to distribute it. We have a small scale dosimetry setup, and we have already several online meeting and present meeting, and we have, you see the name is quite professional experts in this area, and we will perform for at least for lutetium or actinium. It's not decided. It's still in discussion. For liver, maybe in the soft-tissue dosimetry. The last is just to use the uncertainty analysis to perform the for FDG, because FDG model is just published by ICRP, not in the report publication, but in the paper. And we want to also use this analysis approach to perform for iodine 131 model. Another thing I want to just to announce that we have a really close collaboration with EAM. We have several also meeting, online meeting, and we'll have another online meeting this month to discuss to identify some common subjects and to work on that. And I'm very pleased to announce that Elena Prito from EAM to join our annual meeting in Oxford and also present the work they have done and possible discussion and suggestion work not only for pilot group and also for other 12 and working group 12. Yes, you see the picture from the Elena Prito. Yeah, this is from my side. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes.